Sri Akal, Namaste, Adab, and welcome to yet another episode of the Mindfulness with Yogini podcast, Season 2, Episode 4. I'm your host, Aarti Kukreja, and today we're diving into a topic that's extremely relevant, especially in the digital age: unmasking your unhealthy patterns in this toxic digital world. With the constant buzz of the digital world, it's easy to point fingers at the digital media. But it's crucial to also take a moment and think about your role in this. Have we let it become such a big part of our lives that we're developing unhealthy habits, perhaps patterns towards it without realizing? Think about it. Our innate personality plus our DNA coding, combined with the values and ideologies instilled by our parents and primary caretakers, plus our external environment, all come together to make you who you are. This means if your innate personality and DNA have intrinsic resilience, but your parents were neglected towards you and your external environment was brutal and harsh, you might have excellent coping mechanisms, but it might harden you to your circumstances. You could develop a very fierce attitude towards overcoming challenges, but it could also mean that you exude over masculinity in survival situations and you're afraid to express your emotions, but unafraid to take daring risks to excel. Now, consider a different scenario. If you were raised in a family that constantly praised you, you have lived in a life of luxury, had a pleasant personality, then you might have some struggle if people were not treating you right or as an equal in the real world. Overcoming unfavorable circumstances without experiencing emotional breakdowns could be a big challenge for you. Additionally, while we might think that we are critical thinkers, more often than not, the truth is that we are biased confirmation seekers. Our existing beliefs, shaped by our personality, values, and our external environments, often lead us to seek out confirmation of our own prejudices rather than the actual truth. This is a significant unhealthy pattern that permeates through our entire life journey. It's essential, though, to recognize that blaming the digital media is just a way of shifting the responsibility for a problem that we've actually contributed to. It's acknowledging our role in this, our usage, and the control that we have in it so that we can impact our lives positively. Let's talk about myself, for example. My online life, thankfully, is really sheltered. Posting pictures of my outfits or my friendships or quiet moments with my dog hardly invites trolls, threats, or abuse. Additionally, my stories are mainly just reposts of mindfulness tips, societal commentary, science-based life hacks, and sometimes appreciation for my real-life heroes, friends, or cherished artists. But with just 500 followers, I'm hardly noticeable online, which I believe is a good thing. But lastly, I'm not interested in seeing comments on another person's posts, just generally as a person, leaving me in the ultimate ignorant peace. But like I said, my life online is really sheltered. Many people online, especially the ones that are famous or aspiring to be famous, face judgments, insults, condemnations, or sexual and life-threatening abuses and comments. Negatively commenting on others' online posts, which are often curated and actually might not really reflect the true reality of their life, is unhealthy. So, according to me, the unhealthiness online comes from A, posting something online to receive attention from strangers. That's unhealthy. Assuming that all attention will be positive is naive and unreasonable. Reacting to negative comments and dwelling on them is actually the unhealthiest. And then shaping your entire life's worth based on what others think of you is the worst kind of unhealthy pattern that there could be. But we're human beings. We desire things like everyone online will like us, everyone online will make us famous, make us richer, everyone online will support us and encourage us in everything that we do and accept everything that we are, and everyone online will live happily ever after with us. These desires, plus our already existing unhealthy self patterns, equal to a mental unrest with a lack of self-worth, which ultimately lead to suffering. So let's go through how we start looking at social media from its inception and what are the primary initial thoughts that we have when we start to showcase our life online. Because usually it starts completely innocently as I just want to share some parts of my existence with others online. And later on, it becomes I want to share my personal and professional ideas and learnings with others. But soon, more often than not, it becomes I only want to showcase the best or perhaps even the untrue parts of my life online. To then becoming I only want to discuss things that will go viral and help me become more famous or more rich. Or even worse, I'm going to use my social media presence to spread misinformation, hone bias, and cause polarization solely for my benefit. So, as innocently as it starts, we soon find ourselves caught in the social media game that everyone plays, whether you're actively participating or not. Even if your social media presence is authentic, you're still playing the game to stay more authentic than others, more relatable, hence more profitable than all the other real players out there. So there is no way of actually escaping this game because once you start, you're hooked on to that first scroll syndrome, always open to find some escape from your real life. And before you know it, you're a regular doom scroller into the wee hours of the night without finding any relief. Just dopamine hit after another until you anxiously fall asleep. Eventually, whatever game you're playing often fails you and others, but you continue to be in the rut of it because now it's become a matter of your self-worth, your monetary gain, and even an addiction. And hence, this vicious cycle continues. Yes, it's tough not to be part of this seemingly exciting, endless, and pointless game, but still, it's more important to identify this as an unhealthy pattern because your entire action, reaction, response towards it is negative, and more importantly, it disempowers you from living a mentally and emotionally and even physically healthy life. But why is it so hard to begin to disengage from these unhealthy patterns that we've built around social media? Unhealthy patterns are kind of like the wines that choke our potential. Our brains are marvels of neuroplasticity, constantly adapting and rewiring themselves. However, just like a garden left unattended, these neural pathways have become overgrown with unhealthy patterns. These patterns, ingrained through experiences and shaped by our biology, act like an invasive vine that chokes the potential of our growth and fulfillment. Neuroscientist Michael Merzenek's research suggests that repetitive thoughts and behaviors strengthen your neural connections associated with them. Hence, over time, these strengthened pathways become our default responses, making it easier to fall into unhealthy patterns even when you're consciously trying to resist them. These patterns often stem from our evolutionary past. For example, the tendency to people please might have been advantageous in the early societies, fostering cooperation and acceptance within the group. However, this pattern can lead to burnout and resentment towards today's world. Similarly, the fear of intimacy, rooted in the primal need for safety, can keep us isolated and prevent us from forming deep and meaningful connections. Beyond our evolutionary history, childhood experiences play a significant role in shaping unhealthy patterns. Studies by developmental psychologist Mary Ainsworth have shown that children raised in environments that have been inconsistent or neglectful from caregivers are more likely to develop insecure attachment styles, leading to patterns of anxiety and avoidance in adult relationships. The impacts of these patterns extends far beyond our emotional being, because research by cardiologist Redford Williams suggests that a link between chronic stress patterns and an increased heart rate can cause a heart disease. Unhealthy patterns can also manifest physically, leading to deeper problems regarding sleep, digesting, and impacting our overall immune system negatively. So, recognizing these patterns is the first step towards cultivating a thriving inner garden. By understanding their roots in our biology and past experiences, we can begin to dismantle these invasive vines and create space for healthier growth. The psychological roots of unhealthy patterns. Our early experiences shape how we interact with the world. Renowned psychoanalyst Erik Erikson observed that the first task in life is to establish a sense of trust versus mistrust. If our emotional needs for validation, love, and affection weren't met in childhood, we might develop coping mechanisms that have ingrained as unhealthy patterns in our adulthood. Here are some common unhealthy patterns. People pleasing, something I deeply relate to. Children raised with critical or overbearing parents might become people pleasers, constantly seeking external validation, prioritizing the needs of others over their own, even if it leads to resentment or burnout. This can manifest in various ways, from saying yes to every request at work to sacrificing personal time and boundaries to maintain harmony in relationships. People pleasers accept blame for mistakes when they weren't even at fault, they downplay their accomplishments to avoid conflict, and they struggle to set unhealthy boundaries and find it difficult to refuse requests even when they feel uncomfortable and overwhelmed. Fear of intimacy. A lack of love or affection in childhood can lead to a fear of intimacy or a tendency to chase emotionally unavailable partners. Individuals with these patterns might sabotage healthy relationships and even push partners away just as things get serious, creating unnecessary drama, picking fights, or becoming emotionally distant. This fear of vulnerability and closeness can lead to self sabotaging behaviors that push potential partners away and also put you in a lot of pain and suffering. Alternatively, they might gravitate towards emotionally distant partners, recreating the dynamic they experienced in childhood because to them now, subconsciously, that is a safe space and that's how emotional love, vulnerability is supposed to be. These partners might be emotionally unavailable, commitment phobic, or have a long history of unhealthy relationships. This pattern can keep them stuck in a cycle of disappointment, loneliness, and eventual suffering. The next one is self-sabotage. Children who are discouraged or punished for expressing themselves might develop self-sabotaging behaviors to avoid potential failure. This pattern can manifest in various ways. They might resort to procrastination or putting things off until the last minute and creating unnecessary stress and anxiety. Setting unrealistic deadlines always set them up for disappointment and feelings of inadequacy again and again. Subconsciously, they also create situations that can lead to disappointment, and this can aggravate their self-sabotage behaviors. This might also include jeopardizing success, missing deadlines, or neglecting essential tasks. These behaviors can stem from a fear of failure and a belief that they don't deserve success. Substance abuse. Now, turning to drug and alcohol can be a way to cope with unresolved emotional pain or trauma. Individuals with this pattern might want to numb their emotions like sadness or anger or anxiety, even though it's just a short-term solution. But the larger problem is the addiction that leads to much larger negative consequences because of this. Substance abuse can also be used to escape from feelings of inadequacy or shame. While they might bring a temporary uplift in your mood or behavioral patterns, these substances exacerbate their problems in the long run. The desire to escape or self-medicate becomes a habitual response to stress or emotionally distressed situations. Chronic negativity. This pattern might stem from experiences of rejection or constant criticism. People with chronic negativity focus on what's wrong than what's right. They might interpret feedback or situations pessimistically, leading to a constant cycle of unhappiness. This pattern will manifest in various ways, including frequently complaining, constantly dwelling on the past, aggravating and constantly repeating failures, and generally exuding a sense of dissatisfaction with life. It can create barriers to forming meaningful relationships and achieving personal goals. The psychological root causes of these patterns often lie in childhood experiences and early relationships. So, understanding that these are caused in childhood, that is A, out of your control, and B, out of your past, and accepting that is key to breaking free from your unhealthy patterns to foster more healthier relationships and hence behaviors. Breaking free from unhealthy patterns. Breaking free from unhealthy patterns is a lifelong journey that requires self-awareness, constant effort, and a lot of support from your safe space and people who are encouraging towards you. But here are some ways that you can start to embark on this transformative path. First one, self-awareness. Start by identifying your own unhealthy patterns by reflecting on your thoughts, behaviors, emotions, responses, and reactions, and pinpoint where are the areas you are struggling. Journaling, mindful practices, talking to a therapist can be very good ways to evaluate this pattern and identify ways to improve from it. The second one, challenge your patterns. Once you've identified your unhealthy patterns, challenge them. Question their validity and beliefs and behaviors. For example, ask yourself, why are you people pleasing? Why do you seek this need of external validation? And does this actually serve your best interest? Next one, set boundaries. Establish clear boundaries to protect your well-being. If you struggle with people pleasing, for example, learn to say no and prioritize your own needs. Practice assertiveness and communicate with boundaries respectfully and confidently to others. The next one, develop new habits. Replace these unhealthy patterns with healthier habits. For example, if you struggle with self-sabotage, create a structured plan to achieve your goals and break tasks into smaller, manageable steps. Celebrate the smaller progresses and wins that you make and learn from your setbacks. Fifth one, seek support. Surround yourself with supportive individuals who encourage your growth, and consider working with a therapist or a coach who can provide you guidance and also hold you accountable. Support from friends and family can be valuable in your journey to creating healthier patterns and building deeper connections with them. Next one, practice self-compassion. Overall, be kind to yourself while working through these unhealthy patterns. They are extremely difficult to firstly, accept, identify, and work on, and sometimes you might even take a step or two back. But be compassionate to yourself. Recognize that change takes time and effort, and be patient with yourself. Self-compassion can also help you become resilient and then maintain a more positive mindset towards breaking these patterns and building healthier ones. Seventh one, embrace mindfulness. Mindfulness practices can always help you stay present in the moment, cultivate awareness of your thoughts, feelings, actions, and reactions. So by observing your patterns, you can have greater control over your reactions and responses and ensure that they are positive and in alignment with your greater benefit. Eighth one, focus on your growth. Embrace a growth mindset which emphasizes learning and development. Recognize that breaking free from these unhealthy patterns is a process of growth and self-discovery. So celebrate your progresses and continue striving for positive change constantly. By following these steps and committing to your personal growth, you can definitely break free from your unhealthy patterns and cultivate a more balanced life. In conclusion, unhealthy patterns, especially in the digital world, can impact your physical, mental, and emotional well-being significantly. So, by recognizing, addressing, working on, and healing from these patterns, we can cultivate healthier habits, a more positive outlook towards life, more deeper, meaningful relationships with ourselves and with others, and especially with the digital world. Remember, breaking free from unhealthy patterns is a journey that requires self-awareness, effort, and support. By challenging our beliefs, setting boundaries, developing new habits, and seeking support, we can create a more balanced, fulfilling life that commands joy, peace, and contentment. So, thank you so much for joining me in this episode while we discuss the unhealthy patterns that we could have and how to break free from it. I'm your host, Aarti Kukreja, signing off from the Mindfulness with Yogini podcast. So, Sat Sri Akal, Namaste, Adab, and see you next week for the next episode. But if you liked our episode, please like, share, and comment it with anybody you think is struggling with their unhealthy patterns and wants to break free from it. Bye!